Welcome to the B-side for January 2019. As I mentioned to you guys before, there will be a giveaway in this video, so you're not going to want to miss that. I'm also going to talk about the albums that came out that I loved, and show off some of the cool records I got this month. Check it out. Alright, so a couple albums came out this month that I was looking forward to. Some were good, some were and then one surprise album that was pretty darn awesome. Here's what they are. James Blake released Assume Form. Now, I'm going to start this by saying a bad James Blake or a mediocre James Blake album would probably be better than most people's albums because he's just very talented, he has a formula that works, and his generic sound, even if it is generic, is very pleasant to listen to. That being said, I thought that this album was a letdown. This is by far his weakest album to date. Most people that love James Blake love his first two albums the most. I'm weird, I love his third album, The Color and Anything, the most. But you know what? All of his stuff is good, this included, but it is his weakest effort because it wasn't a big departure from what he's done in the past. Now, my favorite tracks on the album were the ones that actually featured people like Rosalia and Andre 3000, which was an incredible feature in my opinion, as well as Moses Sumney, who did a great job. Travis Scott, I can live with that. Overall, this was a pleasant album, but it was more or less forgettable, and I don't think I'll be revisiting it very often compared to his first three records. So, not a win for me, but certainly not a loss, and it's worth checking out if you're a James Blake fan. Little People, Landloper. Wasn't sure what to expect from this. It's been a minute since Mickey Mouse Operation, their first album. A trip-hop masterpiece, really. This, in general, was very different, but it still maintained the core of what made them interesting, which is soothing, intriguing sounds. And that's intriguing in a way that kind of surprises you throughout the album. It kind of nudges into tropical house territory at times, which was unexpected based on the first album not really going there. And they added some vocalists that really peppered some texture into the album. Overall, I really like this. I thought it was a strong record, and I don't know if it's better than the first, it's different. And that doesn't mean bad. It's a little on the long side, but overall, if you're into trip-hop, down-tempo, tropical house type stuff, you like vocals on your music, definitely check it out. Guster is back with Look Alive. Guster was one of my favorite bands in high school. I still cherish many of their early albums and listen to them pretty frequently, especially Goldfly, Lost and Gone Forever, Keep It Together. Absolute classics. Their last album that I really enjoyed was Ganging Up on the Sun. Everything after that has been a slow and steady decline, which is a bummer because I think they have a really unique sound. I like their two singers, and I think that they have a lot of good songwriting chops. That being said, Look Alive was their most experimental record to date, which was not necessarily a good thing. I feel like this record more or less meandered about sound to sound and never really found its sticking point or its cohesion, and because of that, it was a forgettable listen. I will say that I like that they're trying to get out of the box that they've kind of painted themselves in from the last two releases, but on the same note, I feel like they weren't quite sure what they wanted this album to sound like, and they just released it. So there were some good tracks, there were some tracks, but ultimately, after listening to it twice, I don't really remember any of the tracks. So I'm going to stick to the Guster I know. This one was more of a miss than a hit, but I'm going to give it more of a chance because maybe it'll grow on me. And then the surprise drop of the month was Better Oblivion Community Center, which was the incredible collaboration between Connor Oberst of Bright Eyes and Phoebe Bridgers and I guess Boy Genius as well. I loved the Connor Oberst track on Phoebe's album. I thought that was one of my favorite tracks on the album, an absolute standout. So the fact that they were going to be recording an album together was incredibly exciting for me. Overall, I gave it one dedicated listen before this video, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I almost loved it, but there was something that didn't quite click in the way that the best Bright Eyes stuff, like Lifted and I'm Wide Awake It's Morning, and Phoebe's solo stuff, or even her work with Boy Genius, there was just not that level of cohesion that I thought would be there. That's not to say any of the tracks were bad, because they were all great, and I think this is one that I'm going to need to have grow on me, because it is a little meaty, especially lyrically. I want to give it more of a shot. This was definitely a thumbs up in my book, and I got the record. I pre-ordered the orange one, because I knew it would grow on me, because I'm a fan of both those artists. Oftentimes, when I feel like two great artists collaborate, I feel like they're a little weaker, a little more distilled than when they're apart. I felt that way about Kurt Vile and Courtney Barnett. This was not as boring as that album to me. This was actually a very good album, but I was expecting some of those incredible songs like some of the stuff on Phoebe's recent album. Overall, really liked it. I don't know why I'm saying that many negative things about it. I really enjoyed this album and I can't wait to dive in further. News, not a lot of news. TMR Fest is coming along nicely. In the A side, I'm going to tell you some cool little updates. Let's see, Vampire Weekend put out some new songs. They're going to be releasing an album this year. They are wonderful. I can't stop listening to the first track. I can't remember what it's called. It starts with an H. Some Harrod Hall? Harmony Hall? Harmony Hall. I think it's Harmony Hall. Amazing song. And also, as I mentioned in a recent live stream, my turntable's about to get a pretty significant upgrade. I'm going to tell you guys about that more in the video about it that'll hopefully coming out in February, but look forward to some really cool stuff with my audio system. I'm really excited. I'm excited to tell you guys about it, but I'm just going to tease it for now. Alright, you animals, I know you want the giveaway. Here's the giveaway. As I mentioned in the A side, I'm going to be giving away a sealed copy of The Man from Mowax, which is the soundtrack to the documentary about James Lavelle, who's an amazing music producer, musician. He was a record label owner, and he worked with some of the best musicians in the electronic scene for decades. This soundtrack sounds incredible. It's a really good pressing, and there are some really good artists on here. I'm talking Dr. Octagon, DJ Crush, Uncle, DJ Shadow, Tom York, Black Alicious, Queens of the Stone Age. Like, this is an all-star lineup on this soundtrack, so it not only looks cool and has, you know, a gatefold and 2 different color discs. One is red, one is blue, and this could be yours. I really like the art on this. I love DJ Shadow on the front. On the back, you got Tom York and Josh Homme and all sorts of people. So, yeah. This is a really great soundtrack, and the compilation they put together is wonderful, and I want to give you guys a chance to win it. So how you're going to win it is simple. I'm going to put in the description exactly how to enter the contest. It's super simple. Basically, be following me on social media, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment based on what I ask you guys to comment about, and someone's going to win this amazing record, Open International. Good luck to anyone that wins The Man from Mowax. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Richard Houghten. I've been talking about him on the channel for many, many years. He's a good friend of mine, talented musician, and I have 2 cool releases to show off from him. The first one I was lucky enough to get before it sold out almost instantly is the pressing of Sonata de Grillo, which is one of my favorite of his solo records, and he did a liquid-filled variant. Now, if you guys got the Vinyl Moon and Too Many Records collaboration of Polygon and Wonderland, we did a liquid-filled version as well. That was also really hard to find, but Richard pressed that, and I think he's only gotten better. This is an absolutely wonderful liquid fill. I've never seen one that has this kind of like blue and pink liquid together. They're usually like a red and yellow, or you don't really see this combination very well. And because Richard's a master of what he does, it sounds great too. So this is something I'm really proud to own because I love this record. It was my introduction to him as a musician, and now I have this really cool liquid fill. That's not the only cool thing I'm going to show you. I don't know if this is going to be out by the time this video comes out. I know right now, as I'm filming this, it's not up for pre-order, but Richard was kind enough to give me the first copy, as far as I know, of Music for Drifters, his new album. Really cool collage, gatefold right here, and, you know, pretty simple jacket. It's kind of a vaporwavy inspired art on the front in the box. The coolest part about this is that he used a technique that not many people do in the vinyl world anymore. He figured out how to master laser etchings. This is not a picture disc. This is playable, and it sounds great, because like I said, Richard is synonymous with quality. He completely laser etched this record. It is just absolutely bonkers looking to look at, especially under light. And this is my favorite album he has done musically, which is saying a lot because I love all of his sounds. He does a lot of beat-driven stuff, folktronica, and he really doesn't miss musically, but this one really spoke to me in a way that I haven't had an album speak to me in a while. So I already can tell you this is going to probably make my end of the year list just because of how much I enjoyed this off 2 listens. There's going to be enough of this one to go around, I'm guessing. There's a black variant. I believe there's also a blue and a clear variant coming out, both with laser etching. So make sure you're following him on social media. You're not going to want to miss this. Moonshake, as I've talked about before, has done a lot of video game bootleg vinyl that's unbelievable quality, really interesting art direction, and very desirable in the aftermarket. The guy who runs it, he has a label called Unfortunate Face 2, where he's been releasing some stuff that's kind of a little more personal, passion project, not directly related to any game soundtracks. He has done something really cool in the past, and this is kind of like a building on what he did. He released an 8-bit version of OK Computer by Radiohead, and it was actually fully sanctioned by the band. And he also did a Windows 96 album, which is an awesome vaporwave-esque artist that incorporates some video game sounds in it, and he released one of his albums on vinyl. Now, he just did a sequel, as I said, and now we have Kid A, or I guess Kid 8-bit, and it's an 8-bit version of Kid A, which is tied for my favorite album by Radiohead. I would love if we would do In Rainbows, in 8 rainbows. No, none of them. Chris says none of them. It sounds awesome. It is a really nostalgic feel because it feels like you're playing an original Nintendo game or a Super Nintendo game, but you're listening to Kid A, which is great. Pressing sounds really good too. And another album by Windows 96, Gradient Horizon. Gradient Horizon? Yeah, that's what it's called. Windows 96, Gradient Horizon. I like this one even more than the last one he released. It's a little less on the video game sounds, a little more on the vapor sounds, and I just think it's a really unique and awesome listen front to back. I'm not sure if these are still for sale, but if you're not following Unfortunate Face on social media, make sure you are, because you don't want to miss these drops, because once they're gone, they're gone. Also wanted to give a shout out to this project, Big Kids Run, How to Speak Your Own Cloak. Now, as you can see, it's signed on the front, which was really kind of them. This is another project by Progeny, who, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll remember I talked about the album Heron, H-E-R-O-N, the self-titled. That was one of his other projects that was a little more kind of plunderphonic-y. This is straight up hip-hop in the kind of dark, twisted, sadistic, the rapper, not the concept, kind of way, and I really like this. The beats are really memorable thanks to Progeny's awesome production, and overall, I really enjoyed this record. It comes on yellow vinyl, which is rad, and I believe it's still for sale. So if you haven't checked it out, Progeny has won me over by being so excellent on this project and Heron. Hoping there's a new Heron album as well, because I really like that plunderphonic-y stuff. But if you like hip-hop, especially kind of the darker side of it, with some kind of more intense lyrics at times, while still being fun to listen to, definitely check out this album by Big Kids Run. I have finally tracked down a record that I have been looking for probably 4 or 5 years. This is one of my favorite albums, and I was never able to find it for a good price. It was always overseas with a ridiculous shipping fee and ridiculous price to begin with. I've wanted this for a long time because Tycho said that this was a major influence for his music, and as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Tycho. This is Ulrich Schnauz's A Strangely Isolated Place. Now, this is an ambient record that really has a lot of kind of incredible sounds on it that you don't really hear in a lot of ambient experimental electronic records. And this started on City Center Offices, which is a really good experimental music label, and this was where Ulrich started his career with his first 2 records, and then he went to other labels after that. Those first 2 records. This record, though, in particular, if you haven't really experimented with kind of ambient sounds and pretty ambient music and you want to dive into it, A Strangely Isolated Place is absolutely where you should get started. I'm really happy to finally own it, especially the original press and not the repress from the USA a few years later. I can't believe I finally found it. This is a huge addition to my collection, and not the only crazy addition to my collection. I've been looking for this for so long, and I finally found it for a somewhat reasonable price. Somewhat reasonable is still fairly high, but if you know what this is Pearl Jam's Lost Dogs, 3-disc compilation of rarities and B-sides from the first half of their career. And while we're all clamoring for a Lost Dogs Volume 2 from the second half of their career, this compilation really shines in that every track can really hold its own against any track from their real discography, and that's incredible to say for a compilation. That just shows how good Pearl Jam is. But this has been long out of print, it's been bootlegged to hell and back, and this is an official first press. Usually goes for $250, $300 if you can find it. Managed to get this for a lot less than that. I'm not going to say how much, but less than half of what it usually goes for. And that's because the sleeve's a little beat, there's some tears, a little bit of wear on top, and the discs themselves are not perfect. There's a little bit of surface noise here and there, but nothing overpowers the music at all, and it's incredibly listenable, and this record just sounds amazing. And this jacket is just so ridiculous with this massive gatefold. What is this, a vinyl moon release?
Why'd you hold it like that? Like, flipped around. You're like a normal person. Like...
Chris wants me to do this differently, so this is how a normal person opens a triple fold. I don't know why I did it the other way. Finally, I have Lost Dogs. Check. Recently, as you know, checked Pearl Jam 20 off my list. Only gotta look for that Benaroya Hall. Not ready to drop 2000 though. Last thing I want to show you before the video ends, I want to shine a quick spotlight on a release I got a few months ago. Realized I never showed it off in a video, and just the absurdity of it and the quality of it is just absolutely worth showing. I don't know if you know what this is. These are the Cheetah Men. Cheetah Men were action heroes that were short-lived in a NES game and a Genesis game, which were Cheetah Men 2 and Cheetah Men, respectively. I think the Cheetah Men for Genesis? I'm not sure. This one guy, Adam, very passionate about the soundtrack, I suppose, decided to create the most elaborate bootleg video game vinyl release that I've ever seen because of how complex this was. He made this box, he sprayed it, and he added this layer to the front. I got the bundle just because I wanted to see it with my own eyes, and wow. This is for a game that almost no one's ever played, and it still sold out really fast, which is a testament to how rabid the video game vinyl scene is. It comes with an Obi strip, and on the back it has the Cheetah Men hanging out, and on the front it has the Cheetah Men looking tough. It has a Action 52 kind of seal right here, and it comes on this really cool clear vinyl that has the Cheetah Men logo that was on, I guess, the game cartridge. But that's not all. Also, an enamel pin of the Cheetah Men logo. More Cheetah Men stickers. Limited test press bundle, 9 of 10. But he also put inserts in here that he also screen printed. So this one is normal. This is glitched out, like the game was glitching out, like how NES games tend to actually do. This is a test press, I believe. This is has wax seal on the back with I think it looks like a cheetah paw. And hand numbered out of 10. Chris is trying so hard not to laugh through this. I think that's everything. But the fact that this even exists, and it's all high quality, and first of all, for video game music, the sound is really cool. It's chiptunes, but it's really interesting chiptunes, and the soundtrack was probably the best part about this game, I'm assuming. I'm assuming the gameplay wasn't stellar. I actually never had a chance to play it. I knew about it, but I didn't track down the Action 52 cart or anything like that. All I want to do right now is just do a shout out to the scene right now, because there are a lot of random labels popping up doing really interesting bootlegs of games that would never ever get pressed normally. There's no world where Cheetah Man's gonna get a real vinyl pressing, but now some fans had a chance to get some of the music on vinyl, which is really rad. So shout out to Adam, he did a great job with this, and this is one of the weirdest and coolest pieces of my collection. Alright guys, that was the B-side for January 2019. There's a giveaway, as I told you. Go to the description and you'll find out exactly how to enter. Excited to give one of you this Man from Mowax record. Also, let me know what you got in this month. Please let me know what albums I should have listened to that came out this month. I'll do my best to listen to them. If you like this video, give it a like. Please subscribe. More videos soon. Take it easy, guys.